All right, guys, welcome back to the 21 Convention, back from lunch. Your next speaker up is Nick Sparks. He is a this is his fourth time, returning speaker to the 21 Convention. I first met him back in 2009, and I was blown away by his speech, one of the best that year, and every year since, of course. He is a head coach for The Social Man, one of the world leaders in dating and social skills development for men. And the title of the speech today is How to Hold Conversation Like a Man. Without further ado, welcome Nick Sparks back to the stage.
Fourth time being up on the 21 Convention stage. First of all, I just want to say I feel very fortunate to be up here, so thank you for having me again, Anthony. It's awesome. This is always the best. I always look forward to this event. I also feel very nervous. I don't know if I'm giving off signs of that too much, but I've been doing this a lot now in the past 3-4 years, but it never gets any easy for me. Whenever I stand up here, I'm still trying to hold back myself from shaking, but I will do my best. So, the title of my speech today is How to Hold Conversation Like a Man. It's not the most simple concept in the world to really define, to really explain, but I'll do my best. And I found, through trying to explain this concept, that one of the best ways that I can do it is to start off with a story that I think really highlights what it means to hold conversation like a man, what it means to be a man, take a masculine role in the conversation with a woman. Now, 3 years ago now, my first time standing on the 21 Convention stage, I opened up with a story and about me and a girl, which I thought was going to help illustrate some points and teach some things. And some of the feedback I got after that speech was along the lines of, oh man, this asshole's just bragging about some girls, like he sounds like a douchebag, this and that. And looking back, it might have been a little braggy, it might have been a little douchey, I admit that. So, it's probably against my best self-interest to start with a story, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway, and hopefully I can try to keep the douche level as low as possible with it. I'll do my best. Thank you. So, let's see. This story starts out several years ago. I was in Amsterdam on vacation. Great place to go visit if you've never been. And I was staying in the hostel. I highly recommend staying in a hostel if you're ever traveling alone. It's the best way to meet people. You're always going to have other people traveling alone all over the world. Really interesting cats. Great way to go out, find people to go out and do things with. Highly recommend staying in hostels. So it was in this one particular hostel that I had met this lovely Romanian girl. Very sweet. Spoke good enough English. And met her, and it was, we were getting to know one another. We were all sitting around in a group. I was staying in a 15-person dorm room, which is about as big of a dorm room I've ever stayed in a hostel. And we were sitting around in a circle, me and a bunch of our other roommates. It was getting closer to the evening, and we were all just kind of sitting around getting to know each other. BSing, having some beers, having a good time, laughing. And the sweet Romanian girl, she was just sitting right next to me. And as we were talking, I was looking, we were flirting a little bit. She started leaning closer to me. She started nuzzling up a little bit, smiling, looking at me. And I thought, this is a great start to a vacation. This is perfect. I could not have planned this vacation any better. Welcome to Amsterdam, right? But of course, as fate would have it, as luck would have it, it's never that simple. Because as we're all sitting around, all of a sudden I hear some yelling. We look out the window, down to the courtyard. The thing is, just to make this clear, we were on the second floor. The window overlooked this courtyard. And directly across the courtyard was the all-male dorm. I was in a co-ed. This was the all-male dorm. And sure enough, coming through the courtyard, there were these 3 Norwegian guys yelling and screaming, beating their chests, super alpha. And of course, all the girls in the room go scurrying over to the window. What's going on? They want to go check out the action that's happening down in the courtyard. And the guys are yelling up, hey, making this big scene. The ringleader of the guys, the loudest one, the one that's talking the most, he pulls himself up. He grabs the window ledge, pulls himself up to it, carries in. The girls are like, oh my God, helping to pull him in, taking care of him. And he stands up, his friends come up, and he's just in the middle of the circle. He's holding court, telling all these stories, making all these jokes. Everybody's the focus is all on him. And I see my sweet Romanian girl starting to drift towards him as well, starting to lean forward, starting to look at him more in the eye, starting smiling, looking at him. And I just think to myself, son of a bitch. There goes my beautiful, perfect vacation. Son of a bitch. I was not happy at all. I was not happy at all. And so it was at this point that I found myself at a crossroads. There were several different directions I could go. And there were several different directions I wanted to go. There were several different directions I was dying to go. My first impulse, the first reaction that I had, the first thing that I wanted to do, I think it's really common. I've certainly had it before, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. In fact, I would say we've all experienced this first impulse. And that first impulse was to just feel sorry for myself, get pissed, like kind of shut my mouth, kind of slink back in, think, oh, screw this guy. Like, he's such a douchebag. Like, if she wants to be with a guy like that, fine, go. She can have him. I didn't really like her that much anyway. This guy sucks. These people are lame. I didn't even like him. I wasn't having a good time. Screw them, right? Hold myself back, feel sorry for myself, make excuses. This is my first impulse. And thank God, I started to do it. I started to shrink back when he first came in. That was my first impulse. I started to do it. Thank God I didn't let that happen for too long. Because what would have happened? I've done it before. We've all been there before. I would have said, screw these people, gone out to the bar by myself, right? I'll find some chick myself. I don't need them. I would have been in such a bad mood that I would have turned off anybody that got close to me. I would have ended up just getting hammered, stumbling home, passing out, listening to them banging in the bed next to me or something like that, and just think it was the worst decision ever. Luckily, I didn't go down that path. Luckily. My second impulse, the second action that I was desperate to take, and this one was hard for me to fight, because this is my standard MO. Like, whenever I'm screwing up in a conversation with a woman or in general, like, this is my biggest problem, right? And that second impulse for me, that second thing, like, oh, I'll know what I'll do. Here's what I'll do. I'll show this guy, was to say, like, I'm 10 times as entertaining. I'm 10 times as charming. I'm 10 times as funny. I can hold court 1,000,000 times better than this guy. Does he realize who the F he's dealing with right now? I'm Nick Sparks. Like, right? This was my next impulse, my ego. My ego. What? I can be funnier. I can be better. Me. Let me show everybody how hilarious I am, how much better I am than this guy. So that was my second impulse, to start like getting up there and trying to outdo him. Try to one-up his jokes, to one-up his stories, to try to be the bigger center of attention than he was. Thank God I didn't go down that path either, though. I know where that would have gone. I've been there before. I've done it before. Him and I would have gotten to some sort of, penis measuring competition. Who's got the bigger one? Girls always get turned off. Oh, God, guys, here they go with their stupid guy, challenging thing. Girls would have got turned off. They would have gone and done their own thing. Maybe him and I would have been friends. Maybe not. I don't know. But, as long as I was playing his game, I was never going to win. So luckily, I did not give in to my second impulse. So what did I do instead? And again, I like to tell this story because I really think it highlights some of the most common mistakes, what I often refer to as taking the feminine role in conversation. And it really helps highlight luckily, the course of action I chose to take instead, I think really highlights more the masculine role. So what did I do in that situation? I realized, because I've been in his position before, I can relate to him perfectly. What does he want? He wants that validation. And so I was going to give it to him. So what I started to do, I became his biggest cheerleader. I started, anytime you tell a story, no way, that's awesome. Shut up. I did something like that. It wasn't nearly as cool. What was that like? That must have been incredible. That's really amazing, dude, and that's sweet. What was that like? Tell me more about that part. Did you do this or did you do that? Crazy. That's sweet. I wasn't holding myself out of the conversation, right? I wasn't slinking back into my corner. And I wasn't trying to one-up him. I was very much a part of that conversation. I became as active a member of that conversation as anybody else there, right? But it was all, I let him keep his stage. I let him keep the spotlight. So this is what I really think, if anything, the masculine role in a conversation is. It's certainly not feeling sorry for yourself, making excuses, holding yourself back, woe is me, victim, victim, victim. Right? And it's certainly not trying to steal the center of attention. I really consider that to be the woman's role more on that in a second. But what's the masculine role in a conversation? It's really, really simple. It's to set the framework, to set the stage, i.e. the stage to which they can start talking more, to get them talking. And then it's to provide validation. It's to provide your own source of, I like this. I think this is good. That's awesome. We need more of that. Not so much of that. Right? Do I want to be the jester in that situation, or do I want to be the king? And so I like to say, those are really, they really do a great job at highlighting both the biggest mistakes that I see guys make when I'm working with them in conversation, and it also highlights what they should be doing instead. Biggest mistakes I see in conversation, really, really simple. Number one, well, physical. Number one is definitely physical body language. We can talk about that way more, in the Q&A session, anything. This is all about conversation right now. Number one, physical. We'll leave that off the table. But in conversation-wise, the next two biggest things that people screw up in conversations, not doing anything, holding themselves out of the conversation because they're just feeling sorry for themselves, making excuses, either not approaching or just kind of like, in the group, letting everybody else talk, feeling like, oh, I'm just left out of the group, number one. And number two, trying to make themselves the center of attention. Trying to look at me, look how funny, look how charismatic, look how interesting I am. And like I said, this is my biggest mistake. Whenever things don't go well with me with a girl, and it happens, whenever it happens though, it's only one reason, because I'm making it all about myself. I'm not making it about her. Right? As interesting as I can be, as funny as I can be, as well as I can hold a spotlight, so to speak, I can't even come close to touching a woman when she's fully lit up. When she's just completely on, like I can't even be half as magnetic as she can. Sometimes I think I can be, and I wish I could be sometimes. I have that tendency to want that a little too much. But I still really consider that the feminine role. That's what she was born for. The feminine was the flower. The feminine is the spotlight. And so the second biggest mistake I see is when guys try to take that away from her and make it about them instead of making it about her. One of my assistant coaches, she coined the term, it's much better to be interested than to be interesting. Because that's really your two big goals in a conversation. Not to try to impress her without how funny or how whatever you are. It doesn't work. Consistency will always falter. What are your two jobs in a conversation, woman? One, get her talking as much as possible. Two, make her feel good about it when she does. That's it. That's all you have to do. The most common line I use to open up a conversation, or I have my guys use to open up a conversation, hey, how's it going? It's not your job to try to be funny or interesting and win them over. It's not your job to say the right thing. It's just your job to start the conversation. It's your job to just get it going and then see what she has to offer. We'll talk a little bit more about how you make that happen specifically, don't worry. But I want to emphasize first and foremost that if you go in there just trying to impress her, it's always going to fall flat. So the goal is, of course, to get her talking. How do you do that? How do you get a woman talking? Several ways. First, simple. You ask them a question. You guys all know this one, right? Nothing mind-blowing. You ask a question, and then they respond in some way, shape, or form. I like this. I don't like that. The problem with questions, though, it's too easy. Once again, you guys all know them, and the biggest problem with questions is we end up overusing them, right? It just becomes how many times you fall into interview mode, doing all the talking. Oh, cool, what do you think about that? Great, great, great. So what do you think about this? Oh, nice. So have you been there? Question after question, and she's just answering, right? And it feels like you're the one doing all the work. Once again, if you ever feel like you're doing too much work in the conversation and you're not getting as much back in return, it's because you're doing too much work in the conversation. You're trying to do both the female role and the masculine role. I can't do that and be successful, ever. You're trying to give the foundation and give her the validation, but you're also trying to be the center of attention too. And so yes, when you're trying to take on both those roles in the conversation, you're always going to be doing way too much work, and you're never going to get anything back in return. Right? So that's why you can't just keep battering with questions over and over again, because eventually, well, it's going to fizzle out. So how else do you get them talking other than the simple question? I think this is important. And of course, physical always matters. Nothing's going to get a girl talking more than solid, dominant eye contact, holds them in place, a facial expression that says, hey, everything's all right, nothing to worry about, everything's cool. Physical dominance, something I teach. You know, touching them, moving in close, using your body, using the space between you to turn her on and to trigger her. The physical stuff will always get her talking and getting her excited more than anything with your words ever can. So that's why I usually really focus and really harp on that stuff. But in terms of just conversationally, how do you get her talking? Of course, there's the questions. Those run out too much. So the next thing, how do you not fall into that question interview pattern? Sometimes it just happens. Sometimes she contributes back to the conversation and it just flows, right? You guys have all been in a conversation where it just flowed and it was easy, and you wish you could make that happen more? Well, the second way, verbally, to really get her to contribute to the conversation is what I like to call teaching her how to have a conversation. Why? A lot of women don't know how to have a conversation. Older women, no effing problem. They will talk your ear out. It'll be like a back and forth. It'll be good, right? Younger women, though, not always so good at it. You got to teach them. And once again, it's not their fault. They're used to just having guys come up to 99% of guys come up to them, and they're just trying to impress them. They're barely looking them in the eye. They're just trying to say the right thing, trying to say something funny. And there she's like, oh, another one of those guys. Well, next. So how do you teach her how to have a conversation? I also call this forcing her to contribute equally to the conversation. It's the same thing, because what's a proper conversation, right? You're the man. You're supposed to start it, so you kick the ball to her. You put in some effort, but then she puts in effort back, right? I always say that she should be doing the vast majority of talking in a conversation. Once again, if she's not doing the majority of the talking, you're talking way too much. You've always heard that women love to talk. But if they're not doing that often, if they're not doing the majority of the talking, you're still definitely doing something wrong. And this is where it comes in, right? It's supposed to be an equal give and take. It's supposed to be an equal back and forth. But so many guys never even give her the opportunity to contribute equally to the conversation because they're so busy trying to fill in those silences, like say something next. There's a moment of truth in a conversation. And that moment of truth comes after you start it. It's always your job to start it. You start the conversation. You kick it forward a little bit, and there's maybe a little bit of back and forth. You know, I would say, hey, how's it going? What are you guys up to? My standard opening line. And we'll talk. Oh, yeah, you're doing that? Cool. How's that? Blah, blah, blah. She'll ask me. Oh, me and my friends are just up to this, you know, that. And then there's always a lull, right? There's that first question. There's that, like, opening little back and forth banter you have. And then it reaches a lull in conversation, right? You guys all know what I'm talking about. You guys have all experienced this lull before that comes after that first little topic, has its little exciting and then winds down. That first lull, I call that the moment of truth. Because that's when she's going to know what kind of man you are, right then and there. Right? It's going to be anxious. It's going to feel nervous, especially if you're used to like hate silence and you're used to always filling it in and always like rushing forward to try to say something because you can't handle that awkwardness. Right? Like we've all done that. We've all been there. But if you do that, if you're just so nervous that you have to jump in and rush to fill that silence because you're afraid you're going to lose her, she's going to know right then, oh, just another one of those guys. Just another one of those guys. Moment of truth. So what do you have to do in that situation? How do you teach her how to have a conversation at that moment of truth. You employ a little something that I like to call shame. Yeah, that's right. You make her feel shame. You shame her. Shame is one of the most powerful emotions known to man. We all know this. And in that moment where, it comes to a lull and you're feeling all nervous, you're feeling all that anxiety, oh my God, the conversation's going to die. What you're used to doing in those situations, you're used to putting that shame on yourself. I have to say something. I have to make this happen. I have to keep this going. I have to have the right thing to say. What should I do? You're looking around. What do I say next? What am I supposed to do next? Why? It's not your job. It's both of your job. A conversation is supposed to be a cooperative effort. Why are you putting all the pressure on yourself to do everything? Take her off the pedestal. At that moment of truth right there, when it's very natural to feel that anxiety, to feel that nervousness. Take a deep breath. You're a man, you can take it. I remember she's a girl, she can't. So I put that shame onto her. I put that pressure that I'm feeling, I'm putting on anxiety, I'm handing it over to her. This is yours. I already did my part in the conversation. Now it's your turn. Don't you know how this stuff works? So what I do at that moment of truth, really, really simple, but important, so important. If there's one thing I want you guys to do in conversation tonight, this is it. At that moment of truth, when you're nervous and your first instinct is to look off and say, oh, what do I say next? Look her right in the eye. And just get an expression on your face that says, well, what do you got? I'm listening. I put them on the spot. Silence, dead fucking silence. I want them to feel every single ounce of that anxiety. I can take it. She can't. Well, I'd say 75% of the time, if you hold this, you don't let it phase you, you show that you're okay, what's up with you? She's going to feel that awkwardness. She's going to jump to fill in the conversation. So, what do you, blah, blah, blah. Right? When you guys weren't thinking, when it was just happening, that happened, right? When you're nervous, it doesn't just happen. You have to force it to happen. You've got to stand up to every anxiety in your body that wants to rush in and fill it. Hold your tongue, put your hand on your mouth if that's what it takes. Let her do it. And as soon as she fills it in, so, what do you think about it? I immediately get the biggest smile. That's my victory right there. I know it's on. The second she starts putting an effort to the conversation, I get a big smile, and I try to reward her for it. I touch her. Oh, that's such a good question. That is so sweet of you to ask me. Give her a little hug, make her feel good about it, right? Teaching her how to have a conversation. I'll say 75% of the time, 80% of the time, a woman will fill it in that first lull if you give her the space to do it and you don't just talk over her. Doesn't always happen, right? Sometimes the girls just aren't in a good mood. I talk about the 60-40 principle a lot. 60-40 principle, really, really briefly, just simply states that any response you get from another human being, 60% of it has nothing to do with you whatsoever and everything to do with whatever mood they're in. The other 40%, well, yeah, it does have to do with you. But I always say, it's important. That 40% is important. I say, even they're 60, they have their own issues. If you're carrying your 40% well, you're going to get a majority positive responses. Not everybody. You're always going to have people that are just in a bad mood. It happens. They got their own shit to worry about. It has nothing to do with you. Girls are insecure. They're awkward. They're goofy. They're nerdy. It's not you. But at the same token, if your 40%'s off, well, then you're probably going to get a majority of negative responses. And this gap right here, this moment of truth, it's definitely, the physical is always the biggest, but this gap is a very big piece of that 40% for you. 80% of the time, they're going to fill it in. Doesn't always happen. Doesn't always happen. So what do I do in those situations then? In those situations, I'll give her a second chance. I'll wait for a few moments. I'm not going to rush this whatsoever. I'm going to take my sweet time looking at her, well, and she's not responding. She's not giving anything back to me. She looks away for a second. I might look away, take a sip of my drink. Stretch. Show her I'm unfazed. Show her this doesn't bother me whatsoever. Then I might look back at her. So, what do you think about that? I got a standard, like 3 lines of questions. It's really simple. I had questions that I use. I don't ask very many questions. My first lines are, hey, hey, how's it going? What are you guys up to? That's going to be the first lull. If she's still not responding after that first lull, she's one of those weirdos who doesn't still. My second one is always going to be, so, where are you from? Where are you from is a great question. Great question. It looks boring on the surface, but it's so easy to just get deep. It's so easy to jump into, well, what was that like growing up? What was your favorite part about there? Like, what are some of your happiest memories from so-and-so? Should I visit? Would you show me around? What should we do when we go there? Bring up childhood memories. Nostalgia always feels good. So, really boring question, easy to get deep. And then I'll usually give her a third chance. If she's still not responding, I'll try a third time. My last question is almost mocking her. It's just, so do you come here often? If she's still not doing, I don't try to get fancy with these questions. I want to keep them as boring as possible because I don't like to think a lot. I don't want to work hard. I'm not trying to impress her. That's the last thing. That's the last vibe I'm trying to put out. I'm just hanging out, seeing what she's got. So my second follow-up is, so, where are you from? And then once again, we're going to talk about that, and next we're going to talk about what's going on in this whole like jumble of things and how you can maximize that and how you can get her talking more. But before we get to that, the thing winds down and there's that second lull, right? Second lull now comes, and I'm going to turn up the shame a little bit higher this time around. I'm going to be overdoing my well. I'm going to start, well, I'm going to be really like trying to make her feel like, are you okay? Like, is there something wrong with you? Because do you know how this works? Like, I'm not saying this, but I'm communicating this through my look, through my facial expression, through my hands, trying to get her to feel that second lull. And once again, you turn up the shame, you do it a second time, most girls are going to get it. I'll say like 90% of girls will fill it in that second time if you give it to them. She's going to get the hit. Oh, okay, it's my turn to contribute now. I get it. Once again, I reward her. Big hug. Oh, you're the best. Look at you. Right? And then third, and if she still doesn't fill it in, I'm really taking my sweet time. I might just, say goodbye at that point. For whatever reason, I want to give her a third chance. That's when I'll really be like, so, where are you from? I'm just overdoing it. I'm almost mocking her at this point. It's just almost like, who are you? Like, are you a human being that's ever communicated with other human beings before? More to come in those situations happen. But for now, like I said, the majority of the time, they will fill in that space if you leave it for them. So that's what I say. If you do anything in conversation tonight, like make them feel that shame. Force them to contribute equally to a conversation. Don't just try to talk their ear off trying to impress them, number one. So what's next? How else? That's teaching her how to have a conversation. How else do you get her talking now? The next best way, verbally of course, to get her talking, and this goes right back to my Amsterdam experience, the next best way to get her talking is what I call being fully present. Being fully present, letting her know that there's nothing else that's more important in the world than her right now. Women's number one complaint about guys in bars, conversationally, number one complaint, I feel like he's not listening to me. I feel like he's just waiting for his turn to talk. Number one complaint by women in bars. He's not listening. He's just waiting for his turn to talk. Same thing, right? You're trying to make it about you. You're trying to think, I got this next line. It's going to impress her. Yeah, she's rounding it. It's like you're just waiting for a keyword that you can snag onto. Great, got my keyword. I know what my next question is going to be. Whew, I can make this conversation go longer. Done. I can tune you out. Great, that's really nice, awesome, sweet. So, what do you think about that? She knows. A woman knows when you're not listening. A woman knows when you're just waiting for your turn to talk. So the next number one thing you can do to get her talking more is to let her know you really are interested in what she has to talk about. For real, though. Genuinely. I don't care about what I'm going to say next. I can't even think about what I'm going to say next. So all that matters is what you're talking about right now. no agenda, I'm just fascinated. Now that's a little, it's basically just active listening. But it's, if it was so easy, we'd all be doing it already. So I have some techniques that I find are very helpful in helping you be more present, helping you be more really tuned in to show her that nothing else matters and she is, whatever she's saying is the most interesting, funny, important thing you could ever roll around in your brain and think about. So, first one of these techniques. And you may be familiar with this if you watched my speech from last year or were present for last year. I talked about it right at the end. I called it buffering. You might have seen this. And what this is, instead of just saying something else, instead of rattling off, you just say, really? Or, is that right? And then just leave a pause and look at him, oh, really? Huh, that's really cool. Just making this a little comment. That's so interesting. Huh, right? There became a little bit of a problem with this stuff. Guys just became buffering robots. Like, guys would just go out, really, that is so interesting. Like, and just, just saying it without much thought. So it kind of lost it lost a little bit of its glow. So the new way that I describe buffering, I think really helps seals up those holes I left in it from last year. And it's what I call the overly empathetic child listening to a story. If you ever want a great example of a listener, take any kid. People love kids because when a kid's listening to a story, he doesn't have some agenda. He's not wondering like, oh, what can I say to get this person to like me more? Or how can I make them laugh afterwards? Or what can I do to, Kids are just like tuned in. They don't have any hidden agendas. They're just solely focused on, this is so cool, right? I always like to say, if you're telling a kid a story, and you're a good storyteller or whatever, and you said, and then the monsters jumped out, and the kid will like literally jump out of his chair. Like, oh my God, monsters, right? The best example of listening I could ever provide. That kid is so tuned in to what it is I'm talking about, to what it is I'm feeling, he's literally feeling it 10 times as strong in his own body. Like the kid just shit his pants. That's how strong he's really tuned in and really paying attention. There's no better example I can give of listening than that. So I always like to say, and usually when you're nervous, the thing is, usually when you're nervous, you tend to like tighten up a little bit more. You tend to be less expressive. So I always like to say, overdo the shit out of this one. If there's a second thing I want you to do in conversation, I want you to be that overly empathetic child, right? If she says that her dog died, you better have a look on your face like your like mother just died like that second. I mean, well wishes for all of your mothers, of course. I don't, that was a graphic example, I know. I apologize if I upset. If she, it's something happier, if she just, talks about how she did something really cool, you better have a look on your face like you just rode over the Grand Canyon in a motorcycle. I'm not asking you to be fake. I'm asking you to overcompensate for your natural tendency to tighten up, not listen, and not respond emotionally the way that she would like the most. Second thing I want you to do, aside from teaching her out of conversation, be that overly empathetic child. There's few things in this world that turn on a woman more than when she knows that a man is just fully focused on her, not even thinking about anything, but just completely clued in, completely tuned in. Few things will turn on a woman more than when she's getting genuine, strong attention from a man. Few things. Second technique for really being present. I like to call this one relating and personalizing. Complicated name. What do I mean by that? Relating refers to relating your own personal experience or whatever. Personalizing means asking more personal questions to her about what she's talking about. Relating, oh wow, I did this one time. Personalizing, what was that like? Like, did you enjoy that? What was your experience like? Would you recommend it? How did you feel about that? More personal questions about her, regarding whatever she was talking about. And here's the secret about this stuff. All this other stuff, all this listening stuff we're talking about, the secret is it requires no effort whatsoever. Zero. The only effort that I'm ever doing in a conversation is those couple questions that I mentioned. and forcing her to have a conversation sometimes when it's necessary, right? That's the only work I'm ever doing. The rest of this stuff, it's no thought whatsoever. Relating and personalizing, I'm just fully tuned into her. I'm just fully listening to her, and as I am, it's naturally going to make me think of things in my past. I'm just naturally going to think of memories of things that are related to it. No work whatsoever. It just pops up when I'm really paying attention to somebody. And if I'm really tuned in, it's relating. And if I'm really tuned in, if I'm really thinking about what she's going through and imagining myself in that situation, what it would be like, I'm going to have natural curiosities. I'm going to wonder what that's like. I won't be able to help myself. Personalizing, simply an expression of your natural curiosity. No thinking required whatsoever. What is that like? I want to know. I'm just genuinely curious. Relating, personalizing. All of it, once again, is just happening in this bubble before the lull. This is all swirling around in this space, getting her talking more. The more you're really focused on her, the more she's going to talk. The more you're like just relating personal stories that you're just inspired by and really asking questions that you're curious about, the more she's going to talk. And then the third technique I have for active listening, I call it following the trail of breadcrumbs. And this one's simple. It's based on the premise that women will always tell you what they want to talk about next, if you're paying attention. They'll always drop little hints in the conversation. It's not complicated. We make it ourselves complicated by thinking, okay, well, I have to say something funny, I have to say something clever, I have to say something interesting. No, just take the easy layup. She's like, just take the lob that she's throwing right at you. Don't try to be fancy. You don't have to. She's going to be like, yeah, it was fun. And we did that for a couple years, but then, I had to stop. Well, why did you have to stop? Oh, well, I had some family stuff going on and my heart wasn't in it. Well, I don't know if she wants to talk about the family stuff. Why wasn't your heart in it? Simple. Follow the trail of breadcrumbs that she's laying out for you. No need to look anywhere outside of the material she's just throwing at you if you're really paying attention. So how to get her talking more, other than physical, questions, teaching her how to have conversation, being fully present. 3 most powerful verbal ways that you're going to get her talking more. Possibly the 3 most powerful, because there's another one that's also ridiculously powerful. Ridiculously powerful. Possibly the most powerful way that you can affect a woman. And that is to give her validation in the form of sexual interest. Oh, she's a girl. She wants to feel desired by a man. It's in her DNA. She can't help it. And when she starts giving off signals that she's interested in you, signals are really simple. I have 4. Is she holding eye contact? And that's a strong one. If you're getting eye contact, well, it's over. 2, is she filling in those gaps, the conversation? Why do you think I smile so much when she fills in that gap that I'm leaving for her? That's a sign that she's attracted to you. 3, she gets a real smile on her face. Not a polite smile, but a genuine smile. She's really happy. Can't help it. And 4, and this is another strong one too, she points her hips at you. People will always point their hips at what they're most interested in. Woman gives me her hips, I'm all over her at that point. But the point being is that when a woman shows her interest in you, if you don't respond with interest as well, if you don't say, I like you too, you're basically telling her, thanks but no thanks, bro. Like, you're cool, good luck with everything, I'm just not that into you. Or I'm just not confident enough to do something. Either way, she's gonna go find another guy. She's out at the bar, she's looking for love, she's looking for excitement, she wants to hook up or at least flirt and have a sexy time. If you're not gonna be the guy to give it to her, on to the next one. Real easy. So in that moment that she starts lighting up and she starts showing you she's interested in you, if you do not express your interest back towards her, you're going to lose her every single time. Why does she want a guy that doesn't like her or can't even express it if he does? So you must in those situations express your sexual interest, giving her validation through your sexual interest. And that's really what escalation is. That's really all escalation is showing a girl you're interested in her through the way you look at her, through the way you touch her, through how bad you want your body on top of her, and through the things that you're saying because you can't help but think of them, that she's turning you on. That's all escalation is. Now that's a whole nother speech. Once again, you want to talk about that in questions or when we're out, awesome, let's do it. But I'll probably be talking about that. It'll probably be the basis for my speech next year. No time whatsoever to delve into escalation. But what I will say very briefly is that if you give that woman that sexual validation, I'm attracted to you, I like you, that definitely ranks up there with all the other powerful ways of getting her excited and getting her wanting to talk more. And once again, if you don't, she's going to talk less, she's going to talk less, she's going to start looking around, she's going to say, I'll see you later. Good luck with everything. Every single time. So you have to display your sexual interest for her. And that's really it. I mean, if I'm doing all of that, once again, the majority of guys who are out there just walk up to her, try to win her over, do all of the talking, trying to impress her, not letting any of those silences fall because they're too nervous and they can't handle it. And every single girl is like, yep, another one of those guys. Another one of those guys. But if you're a guy who walks up, looks her strong in the eye, has a confident expression on his face, shows that he's comfortable touching her and being close to her, he's not afraid of her, shows he's not trying to win her over and impress her with his words, he's actually forcing her, expecting her to contribute equally to the conversation, to show that he's not just thinking of the next thing that he's going to say to impress her, to show that he's just no agenda, just totally tuned into her, totally comfortable with it, and showing that he's interested in her. You're going to ask any girl, how many guys do that? Maybe 1%? Barely. They say they never see those guys. So when they do, they immediately know, oh, it's one of those guys. I like those guys. What happens again? I want to go back and touch. What happens again if maybe she's not as receptive, right? What happens if she doesn't give you as strong a signals? Now, once again, if you're bringing everything that I just mentioned, you're going to be getting positive responses the vast majority of the time, I promise. If you're not, you won't, promise. But once again, there's always those situations where maybe you're a little bit off, maybe she's a little bit off. What do you do in those situations? A couple things. A couple verbal things I like to do. Once again, I'm usually going to turn up my physicalness to see if I can jar her out of it with a little extra energy from my body, strongest way. But verbally, I'm also going to try to spice things up just a little bit to see if I can maybe shake her loose, shake her out of whatever kind of funk she's in, maybe shake myself out of whatever kind of funk I'm in too. And so the things I do to spice things up, they're just self-amusing. They're just things that I do to have fun with the conversation because I have to entertain myself because she's not being very entertaining at the time. So what are some of those things? Being playfully challenging is one of them. And this one's simple. Whatever she says, I'm just going to challenge her on it. She says she did. She said she went to, to Harvard or whatever. No, you didn't. You're such a liar. I don't believe you at all. The expression of playfully challenging, you have a smile. You got to look him in the eye. It's almost saying, you're not that cool. I refuse to believe you're that cool. No way. You never did that. You're a liar. Playfully challenging. Playfully disagreeing is another one of my favorite. Whatever opinion she expresses about something, I'm just going to express the direct opposite strongly. She says, oh my God, I love those guys. Oh, I hate those guys. What? What are you talking about? Oh, I don't even know. I don't even know who you're talking about. I'm just trying to throw her off. Oh my God, like that is the worst. That sucks. What are you talking about? That's my favorite. My dad and I used to do that every single day. What are you talking about? Really? Oh my God, I'm sorry. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just full. Playfully disagreeing. Another one of my favorites. I use this constantly. You're blank. Whatever she says, it's just that old middle school thing, you're blank. She says, that's stupid. You're stupid. She says, oh my God, that looks like fun. You look like fun. Whatever it is, that's the worst. You're the worst. Whatever it is, you're blank. It's a great way to just kind of mix things up. It's so easy. Two other ways that I really like to mix things up if it gets to it. And these are two different sides of this exact same coin. Fomance, which of course is French for false romance. I don't speak French. Fomance and playful disinterest. Two sides of the same coin. Fomance says whatever she's talking about, oh my God, that's the hottest, sexiest thing I've ever heard in my life. You know, she's like, oh my God, I got these new rain boots. I love new rain boots. Oh my God, like, those are sexy rain boots. And those are good because you can touch her a little bit more, you can get closer to her, and you're playing around, so she's a lot more loose with what she'll allow. And the other side of that coin, playful disinterest. Ugh. This one's easy for me. If ever a girl says she's from Ohio, I'm from Michigan. In case you weren't aware, our two states fought a war at some point, and we've hated each other ever since with a passion, and why wouldn't I? They're rednecks. But, sorry. No offense to any Ohio people, of course. All in good fun. But, I mean, I'm definitely going to give her some playful, right? Turn my back a little bit. Are you serious? Ugh, gross. What I'll often like to do, I'll make physical contact. I'll establish physical contact with her when I do it. Like, I'll push her away a little bit, but I'm still touching her, right? Letting her know I'm still interested with my physicalness, so she still, like, stays interested. I'm not actually. And then I'll come back on, it's all right. I've had friends from Ohio. You guys aren't that bad, right? I'm sure your dad drives a truck. I can grow to accept that. It's no problem. Nothing wrong with truck driving either. It's an honorable profession. You know, it's an Ohio joke. So, some different ways I mix things up in case they're getting tight. One other thing I want to leave you with, if it's not going so. Once again, I'm usually going to give her 2 tries, sometimes 3 if I'm feeling really generous to contribute back to the conversation. If I'm feeling really generous, I'll give her a 3rd shot. But when it's just dead wood, when there's just nothing there, very, very important that you employ what I call the warm goodbye. If there's another thing that I'd like you to do tonight, I would love you all to employ the warm goodbye. What's the warm goodbye? It's really simple. Hey guys, I got to get back to my friends, but it's been fun. It's been really fun talking to you. I hope you have a great rest of the night. Cheers. Go off to your friends. Why is this so important? Why is this so freaking important? It's important for a number of reasons. Number 1, you want to maybe save some sort of chance with that girl. You know, maybe she's just in a funk. Maybe it's early on in the night and she's still feeling a little awkward. She hasn't had enough drinks yet to feel sexy and confident. So she's just a little stiff, right? If you're sitting there showing no social intelligence whatsoever, just trying to drag out this conversation, doing all of the talking, trying to win her over, it's just going to get more awkward, and you're going to feel worse, and she's going to get more turned off. She's going to think, who's this weirdo? But if you just show social intelligence, go up, not trying to impress her, see what she's got, and she's just not there yet, and you're just like, hey, I got to get back to my friends. You guys have a good night. All of a sudden, she starts thinking, oh, wait, that was actually a cool guy. Like, I was an asshole there. Like, this is why my mother always asks me why I'm single all the time. That's why. Fuck. I've had so many girls come up to me after I've warm goodbyed them. Hey, how's it going? I'm like, yeah, I was being this way and that way. So number 1, saving any possible chance you have with those girls. Number 2, reason for the warm goodbye, every other girl in that place is watching you. They are. They want to see, how does this go? They're going to be judging that interaction. 5 minutes? Really? Crap, I'm glad this is perfect timing. Time flies when you're rocking. No. Second most important reason, everybody else is watching you. And so if you just kind of if they're kind of closing the group in and you see that they're not responding, if you just kind of put your head down and slink away in shame, they're all going to say, oh man, that guy just got shot down hard. Right? But instead, if you say, you know what, it's been great talking to you girls, have a great night, walk away, then all of a sudden they're like, oh, seems like a fun, cool, social guy. Those girls are just kind of awkward and cold. Like, girls all know that some girls are just icy. Like, that's commonly accepted in girl knowledge. They'll be like, oh, those are those girls. I hope I don't want to be those girls. Mothers always ask them why they're not married. It's every girl's nightmare. It's fantastic. Yeah. Number 3 reason is the most important, I would say, though. You do it for you. You do it for you. You're saying, no, I'm not ending this on your terms. You're not rejecting me. You're not trying to sit here and say, I'm not good enough for you. All right? You're the socially awkward one. You're the weirdo. I'm ending this on my terms. I'm saying goodbye to you. You walk away a little bit taller. You walk away a little bit stronger. You walk away with a little bit more confidence for your next interaction every single time. It's magical, I promise you. Sometimes when they're really like icy, when they're really kind of bitchy, I'll be patronizing. You know what? It's been such a pleasure talking to you guys. I really hope you have a good rest of the night. Good luck with everything, girls. Good luck with everything. Makes me feel a little bit better. I don't recommend it. It's kind of a dick move, but it makes me feel a little bit better. And to close this all off, because we're wrapping up.
Nick, you do have time for Q&A.
Awesome. Just in case you were wondering what happened in Amsterdam, as I started to give him more validation, he started working for me more. He started giving more back to me. I was giving him exactly what he was looking for, so this guy loved me. So he started, yeah, bro, and then I did that and that. Oh, yeah, it was really cool. Oh, man, yeah, so we were doing this, and it was totally fun. Yeah, we did that and that. No way, that's sweet. Shut up. And I'm being genuine here. You can't fake this, because he's going to know you're just effing with him, right? No way, that's really sweet. And as he started coming towards me more, like talking more, because I'm like, getting him more excited that I'm really into what he's talking about, I started leaning back a little bit. No way! Shut up! It's wild. Get out of here. It's so cool. And I started talking less and less, and everybody else was now looking at me, and I was leaving back, because the center of attention was now giving all his attention to me. Of course, everybody else in the group is going to be giving their attention to me. And so they stopped asking questions. Yeah, cool, man. Great. Awesome. All right. Cool. Kind of winded down. Of course, as I leaned back, my sweet Romanian girl started cuddling back up next to me. I had her leaning back towards me, too. I just look at her and say, want to go grab a beer? Got out of there, had a beer, had a wonderful rest of the vacation together. Douche-free as possible. That's how you take the masculine role in a conversation. Thank you, guys. Questions, please. 2 questions we have. We'll let you please decide so I don't have to be the asshole.
Okay, called it. Great speech, love it a lot.
Thank you.
I really have a question. What kind of emotional response are you trying to elicit when you are employing this tactic?
Good question.
From her? And then what's the kind of line drawn between how it comes across as creepy and how it comes across as being a boss when you're just sitting there in the zone?
Question you: how can you come across as creepy?
I just feel like that maybe like the death stare that you give the girls, not you in particular, but just anybody if they were to try this out. So I feel like some girls might find it like, why is this guy just saying, oh, really, and then just staring at me,
Yeah.
I can kind of feel like some girls. I'm really creeped out. No, I'm just
Great
kidding.
question. No. Really, really great question. So many guys are terrified of this whole being creepy thing. Like I push eye contact as hard as you could ever imagine. And I always challenge my guys at the beginning of a weekend. I will challenge you to get shot down for making too much eye contact. I dare you to. Dare you to. And the thing is, can you make too much eye contact? Absolutely. But most guys are so far on the opposite end of that they need to try to overdo it to compensate, to overcompensate for their huge deficiency. And some guys try to overcompensate. They're not even close to where that line is. They got to try to overdo it one more time. And being creepy is the #1 fear and #1 excuse that guys use to keep themselves back in this position. So I would say don't even worry about being creepy, because if you're seeing consistency issues, you're so far down at this end. Like, that should be the last of your fears, okay? What is creepy? The guys who get shot down by making too much eye contact, it's always the same, right? They're just staring at a girl with no facial expression. I always say, didn't I say facial expression, one of the most important things? No facial expression. And a girl looks at them, and it's not a bad look. The girl's just like, well, right? She gives you that look like, what do you want? Guys always take that as a bad sign. Guys always take that as like, oh, she doesn't like me, I'm doing something creepy. Why? She just wants to know, like, well, what, dude? Are you going to say something, or are you just going to stand there? That's all she wants to know. Like, are you going to fucking talk to me or what? So I say the only guys that ever get shot down for making too much eye contact, they either have a dead expression on their face, or when the girl's like, what? They just don't do anything. They just, okay. What is creepy? Really, really simple. All creepy is if a girl shows you in any way, shape, or form that she's uncomfortable with something, if you keep doing it. Creepy is you're so in your own world, you're not even paying attention like to anyone else. You're almost like cut off from, that's creepy. I wouldn't be worrying about that with you right now. I'd be worried about making more eye contact, making enough eye contact, yeah? And doing something when she gives you that, well, what look. Smile when you do it. Though I want to really briefly say, too, that expression that everything's okay, especially when you go up to start a conversation, so important. Because she's always going to be looking at you. She's always going to look to you and say, well, is this going to be comfortable or is this not? And if she looks at you and you have a look on your face that says, this is not okay, this is not comfortable, she won't be comfortable with it. If you have a look on your face that says, everything's all right, nothing to worry about, we're just having a good time, out at the bar, chit-chatting, don't worry, I'm not a psycho killer, I'm just a dude, no problem, it's fine. She's always going to look to you, though, especially in those first 5 seconds, to let her know whether you're okay or not, or whether this is okay or not. Thank you. Good question. Yes.
Nick, great speech again. So thanks. I have a two-part question. One is, in the community, there has been a traditional view on making a lot of statements as opposed to asking questions. Mm-hmm. So I kind of wanted to ask for your opinion on that, because I've been taught that once you make too many questions at the start, you're putting the conversational pressure on her, and making statements kind of does the opposite. And my second question as a follow-up to that is, when you ask a question, should it be a question that always open a lot of threads? For example, a question, an open-ended question, as opposed to something like, how tall are you, which probably doesn't lead to a lot of,
To answer your second question, I don't care that much. I don't. I'm not trying that hard. To answer your first question, which was asking questions, using statements instead. I like statements to start a conversation, but I'll use questions just as easily to start a conversation. Well, like sometimes, I'll just say one thing I like is if you're feeling something positive, to share that with whoever. I love this song, right? Statements are also great for day game, for daytime talking to girls, like opening conversations with just a general statement about your surroundings. It's always a good way to start those conversations. But would I also agree that you don't want to ask too many questions? Yeah. Like I said, I'm only trying a bare minimum of time. The vast majority of the time, she should be doing the vast majority of the talking, and I'm just listening, I'm just relating and personalizing, I'm just overly empathetic child, I'm forcing her to contribute. So I'm barely asking questions. But I do it because it works. It's easy to remember. I don't want to have anything too complicated. To dovetail into your second question a little bit, well, this complicated thing, should it be this kind of question? All I know is that in that moment when this girl is looking at me and I think she's gorgeous and she's making my heart beat out of my chest, I can't think of any of that shit. I just need a rope that I can grab onto. I just need the most simple thing that can pop into my head. First level when I'm trying, hey, how's it going? What are you guys up to? Blah, blah, blah. So where are you from? And once she starts to light up, I have a second tier of questions. And it's just all about her. Once she starts to light up, once she starts to open up, showing that she's interested in you, I stop all the joking around or talking about this and that, and I want to know, I just hone in, who are you? The second tier of questions is all about her hopes, her dreams, her passions, who she is. So once she starts opening up, the second thing I'm going right into is, so what are you into? What are you passionate about? Who are you? I want to know, what turns you on? What could you be if you didn't have to spend any money, that whole kind of thing. That's what I'm going to try to get into, hopes, dreams, and passions. And like I said, I don't think about it much further than that. Thank you. Cool. That's it. Thank you again, guys, very much. I appreciate it.